Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today's panel for Striving for Sustainability, a panel on increasing client earned and unearned income. We are so pleased to have our wonderful guest today to teach us and to answer some questions that y'all may have. So thank you all for selecting this breakout session. If you register for a different session and need help finding that room, just let me know. But first, I'd like to introduce the presenters for this session. So we have Nana Spinner from the Family Social Services Administration, FSSA. We have Laura Chavez from the Indiana Department of Health. We have next to Nanas, we have Heather Flanagan from the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. And here we have Bart Dawn from the Indiana Department of Workforce Development as well. So their full bios are in the Eventbrite app or website, so you can check that there. And the PowerPoint presentation will be posted on IHCDA's website after this conference. And this session is also going to be recorded, so you will be able to find that recording in the IHCDA website as well. So without further ado, I'm going to let Jim Flatford lead the panel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Flatford. I'm finishing my 6th week with IHCDA, so congratulations. Good way to end it off. And so again, thank you for joining us. We've got 4 great panel members today. They're going to each go through a brief presentation on their work and how you can connect your clients to their programs. And then we'll open it up to questions for all of them at the end. All right. So Laura, I believe you're up first.
Sure. Hi, I'm Laura Chavez. I am the director of the Indiana WIC program, so Women, Infants, and Children's program, and we are housed at the Indiana Department of Health. There I am. Yes. So this is our mission and vision of the Department of Health. You guys have probably heard about us over the last 2 years. We've been very busy. Okay, so what is the WIC program? Oh, and before I go on, all the pictures that you see in the PowerPoint are our families that are enrolled in our program. We did a huge photo shoot across the state, and so these are our beautiful parents and babies. So WIC is a nutrition education program. We are funded through the USDA. We are in all states, territories, and tribal organizations. We're not an enrollment program like Medicaid or SNAP. We're an education program. So we provide services to pregnant, postpartum, and breast and chest feeding parents and children up to the age of 5 who meet income guidelines and are at a nutritional risk, which we're all at a nutritional risk if for one reason or another, right? We all have something that we can improve in our diet. So those 2 components have to be in place for someone to qualify for the WIC program. So clients receive their benefits on an EBT card, which I'll show you a picture of later, and they can be redeemed for specific items at designated grocery stores and pharmacies, and they also receive breast and chest feeding support, education, referral to community services. We offer a lot of different support for families in their communities. What do we do? I love this picture. This is just so cute. So our whole goal is to assess the nutrition risk of a family or an individual who comes to us. We do a health screening, so we weigh, measure, we take an iron sample, and our registered dietitians assess what the nutrition risk of that family is. So they come in, they have their income screened. If they qualify, they meet with a dietitian. The dietitian, or sometimes a nurse, will assess the nutrition risk of that individual. And then they work with the family to assign a food package of foods that specifically address that nutritional risk. So if that family has low iron, if that baby or that mom has low iron, we're going to assign a food package that has high iron foods to help reduce that risk for that family. So we provide the assessment, and then we provide the foods to address that risk. And then we do a lot of nutrition education and counseling, and all of this is free of charge to our families. So our registered dietitians meet with the family, and we address lots of stuff. So I'm sure you guys know when you meet with a family, sometimes you talk about what you intend to talk about, but often you don't. So sometimes we talk about potty training, and sometimes we talk about breast or chest feeding, and sometimes we talk about nutrition risk, but the goal is to reduce that risk for the family. And then, of course, because we have those conversations in clinic, we do refer to other Indiana Health, Family, and Social Services. Oops. So we're in every county. We have host agencies that host the program. So we have 18 not-for-profits, 12 health departments, and 6 hospital systems that have a WIC program. The WIC staff are hired from the local community, and having that local staff that understand and live in the community and serve the family in that community can be really, really helpful in making those connections and building those relationships for our families. So our eligibility guidelines, like I said, there's categorical. So they have to be a pregnant adolescent or adult, a breast or chest feeding parent. Will serve up, if they are breast or chest feeding, they can get benefits up to a year postpartum. If they are not, they can get benefits up to 6 months postpartum. Infants and then children up to the age of 5. We want to give them healthy foods until they hit kindergarten. So, they have to live in Indiana. They're at or below 185% of federal poverty income guidelines. And then we have adjunctive eligibility with SNAP, TANF, and Medicaid. So if they are on those programs, then they automatically meet the income portion of our assessment. And then of course they have to have a nutritional risk. So these, this is way tinier than I thought. So these are income guidelines. So a great example would be, let's see, a family of 4 could make up to $55,500 per year and still qualify for the WIC program. So our goal is, let me feed babies. I will feed you. We will feed you and give you healthy foods. You take that money that you're saving and you put it into those things that are important to you, whether that's rent or education or anything else. Like, let me take care of that for you because we can. And something we do here too, a lot of families will say, well, I don't want to take someone else's spot because I'm okay. Like, we're making it. The more people that join the WIC program, the more funding USDA gives me to support the WIC program. So it's not taking anyone's spot. We really want to help families. So if they need the assistance and they qualify, we'd love them to stay with us. So our food package includes so many things, and we update it every year. We do have an infant formula benefit that some families take advantage of. We have infant food, cereal, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fish for pregnant people. We do have juice, eggs, peanut butter, tofu, you name it. And we'll customize that food package for the family. So if they have a special, like they're vegetarian or they are lactose intolerant or they need a halal diet, we can accommodate all that for the family. So this is our EBT card. I don't know, some of you look awfully young, but used to be that you got checks and you had to, everything was on the check and you had to take the check and you had to get everything that was on the check or you lost the benefits. So that stinks. So we changed that. So now you get a card and you can use the benefits throughout the month and get what you need to get. So you can get a gallon of milk or you can get that peanut butter. You don't have to redeem it all at once. It's a little bit more like private. It's like using a debit card like everyone else. And it also, you know, is a little bit more efficient. So we have an NWIC mobile application. We also have the NWIC app in Spanish. You can find WIC Clinic and WIC approved vendors. So all of you can actually download the InWIC app. You won't be able to log in, but we have a lot of resources. So we have our maps of our clinics, our approved vendors where you can redeem WIC benefits. And then you also can look at, we have a bunch of different resources and referrals and a tab on the InWIC app as well without having to log in. But they can look at future and current benefits. Their appointment information is on that app. It lets them know when their benefits are expiring. They get reminders. There's a UPC scanner, so if they're like, this should be on the WIC program, like I should be able to get this, they can scan it at the grocery store and it'll send that item to my vendor team and we can assess whether that item is something that we could consider. And we have added items. We got, for some reason, one month, like a bunch of tofu. There's like a lot of vegetarians that were like, we need you to add tofu. So we did. We also have 35 nutrition education lessons. So our families do have to do education every few months in order to continue to receive their benefits. If they don't do it, we're not going to take their benefits. But we do want them to do this nutrition education. So we've made it more convenient by developing some education right on the app. So I don't have to. We have a peer counselor program. And our peer counselors are previous or current WIC clients who have experience with breast or chest feeding, and they provide that breast or chest feeding education and support to our clients. They're just other parents who have a baby. We strongly encourage our agencies to let our peer counselors bring their babies into the clinic with them to work. They're a dyad, right? It's both of them. They're one little unit, and we want our families to be able to see that this is doable, and I can show you that you can do this too. They provide education on normal breast and chest feeding, like this is what you can expect. But we also have credentialed lactation staff at every agency or accessible to every agency for more complicated cases or a mom that needs or a parent that needs more support. And I think my breastfeeding coordinator put this in here. We've gotten awards from the USDA, super proud. So this is like the most condensed version. I could talk for like 3 hours about it. But we have a website, we have a 1-800 number, we have an email. During all normal business hours, you can call us, email us. We have somebody that answers those calls. We can connect you. We can connect your families to anything that they need. We can answer questions. And then we're on Twitter. Also, we have a Facebook now, which is new. So that's exciting. Oops, that's not me. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Some great programs that you can connect your clients up to. Next, we have Donis. She's going to go over some of the Medicaid programs that are available.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Donna Spinner, and I am the Director of Eligibility and Member Services for Indiana Medicaid. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you today. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Medicaid programs. Now, I was told that some of you are very new and some of you have been here for a really long time. So one thing when I first started with the Division of Family Resources, who takes Medicaid, SNAP, TANF applications and makes the decisions, that's where I started my career with SA. And when I first started, I didn't even know the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. So if anyone has a question on that, Medicare is a program for retired individuals or for individuals who've worked but now have disabilities. And that is a separate program from Medicaid, and it's something that you kind of pay into and then you can get back out of it. Medicaid is a program that is jointly funded through the federal government and state government, and it is eligible. It is open to anyone who meets the eligibility criteria. So you don't have to have paid into it. There's no cap on it. It's available for everyone in the state of Indiana. We do have several kind of umbrella categories that we talk about for our Medicaid categories. The first is Who's Your Healthwise, and this covers low-income children without disabilities up to their 19th birthday. It also covers moderate income children, so kids who have a little bit higher family income under our Children's Health Insurance Plan, which you may know as CHIP. This program requires premiums. Our other Medicaid categories do not, and also covers moderate income pregnant and postpartum individuals. We did recently have a change in our postpartum coverage, which expanded from 60 days to 12 months, which is a wonderful change for the families of Indiana. We also have Who's Your Care Connect. And this covers individuals of any age with a disability or those who are older than 65 who don't have Medicare. They don't need long-term services and supports, which would be like a nursing home or being on a home and community-based services waiver that lets them get home health care. And it also covers some foster children, adoptees, and former foster children. In Indiana, we cover former foster children who aged out of care at age 18 up until their 26th birthday. There's no income limit for that category. There's no annual redetermination. They are just covered until they're 26 because we know for this group it's important for them to have stability in their health care. We also have the Healthy Indiana Plan. This is Indiana's expansion of Medicaid that happened under the Affordable Care Act. There have been, when we first started this, we were under a certain administration and we didn't really say HIP is Medicaid, HIP is Medicaid. So if you have someone who's saying, I don't have Medicaid, I have HIP, it is Medicaid. This covers individuals without disabilities who are age 19 to 64 and also low-income pregnant and postpartum individuals. So if you have a little lower income, you would be covered as a pregnant person in HIP. If your income's a little bit higher, it'd be Hoosier Health-wise, but the benefit is the same. The healthy individuals are required to pay monthly contributions if their income is over 100% of the federal poverty level. Others may choose to pay these contributions if they want to get extra services such as vision and dental, or they can pay co-pays at the time of service. So if you're a little bit lower income, you can choose, do I want to pay monthly premiums or do I just want to pay co-pays when I get my services? Those premiums, the highest is $20 a month. That would be for our highest income level under the Healthy Indiana Plan. Most of our people who are on HIP pay $1 a month. And we also have our fee-for-service or traditional Medicaid. This covers individuals who need long-term services and support. So again, those would be who maybe are in a nursing home or other facility, individuals who have a home and community-based services waiver, meaning that they could be in a nursing home, but instead they're choosing to receive their care at home with home health care and other supports. This also covers some of our foster children, adoptees, and former foster children, and individuals who are only eligible for coverage of emergency services due to immigration status. So undocumented individuals are only eligible for emergency services coverage, which means it protects them if they need to go to the emergency room. For pregnant women or pregnant individuals, it would protect them if there's something happening that could be a risk to the baby. So it's not full coverage, but it is good and helpful coverage for them to have if there's nothing else available for them. And this is our enrollment by programs. You can see here that our Hoosier Health-wise, which is our kids and pregnant women, is our biggest category at about 40% of our enrollment. Healthy Indiana Plan, or HIP, is not far behind at 39%. We have a smaller group of Hoosier Care Connect individuals, and then our fee-for-service individuals, again, those mostly who are receiving long-term services and supports. And this is probably hard for you to see, but I know you're going to all have access to the slides afterwards, but this kind of shows you the income limits by program. In general, for children, the younger you are, the higher family income you can have and still qualify for coverage. And for adults, the more challenges you have with your health, the higher income you can have and still qualify for coverage. So the highest income limit is for our working people with disabilities, and that's 350% of the federal poverty level. And we disregard certain types of income. So I always encourage people, and I may say this later in the slide, so I'll say it twice if I do. All of this is very complicated. The smartest person in the world may look on our website and think, I don't think I'm going to qualify. Please apply. There is no penalty to apply. If you get denied, you can immediately apply again. There's no limit on how many times you can apply. When you apply, we will look at all of the disregards, what income counts, what income doesn't count, and make a full determination to see if you qualify or not. So that's always my suggestion. Please don't be discouraged by looking on a website and thinking I make $20 a month too much to qualify for this program. It's probably not the case. Presumptive eligibility, I'm not sure how many of you have heard of that. It's also called PE. And this is a way for someone who needs coverage right away and they really don't have time to wait for a Medicaid application to be processed, which can take a month or so. They can go to certain qualified providers and receive same-day coverage. They're asked about a dozen questions. We take their attestations, so we just take their statement on their income, their household size, citizenship, Indiana residency, and things like that. That application is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So a lot of times where we see it is someone who goes into emergency room and they have no coverage, they will fill out this questionnaire with someone who's helping them, and then they can get a decision right then, you are eligible for this coverage. And then they don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for this expensive care. You can learn more about presumptive eligibility rules, the link I have here. And there's also a link here to find a qualified provider. So if you're helping someone and they say, I've really got an urgent problem that I need to get taken care of, you can find a qualified provider here. There's a selection where you'll say, show only presumptive eligibility qualified providers. And then based on the location, you can find providers in the area. And applying for Medicaid, so you can apply online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including on a smartphone or another device, or request an application to be sent through the mail at fssabenefits.in.gov. Completed paper applications, so if you said, I don't want to do this online thing, just mail me an application and then they fill it out. Those can be returned by fax, dropped off at a local office, and I've got a link below where you can find a map of local offices, or it can be mailed to the document center. You can also apply over the phone. So if you have someone who really has challenges with writing and it would be better for them to just have somebody walk them through the questions, they can do that. It does sometimes take a while, but that is an option too during business hours, which are 8 o'clock to 4:30, Monday through Friday. They can also apply in person at a Division of Family Resources local office. We have at least one office in every county. And DFR staff can help with questions. They usually have maybe half a dozen staff in their office who are available to help with questions. There are computer kiosks there, so if it's someone's like, I don't have internet, how am I supposed to do this? They can go and use the computer kiosk there. And then if they're in the middle of the application, I'm like, I don't know what you're asking. They just raise a hand, somebody will come over and help them. And if someone needs some further help in applying for Medicaid or maybe even marketplace coverage, we do have Indiana Health Coverage Navigators who can help walk people through all of their options, answer a lot of the questions, and kind of be there to remind them, hey, remember, you need to turn in your pay stubs by this date. Make sure you get those in. Do you need some help figuring out how to fax them or mail them? I can help with that. And also, the can select any person or organization to be what we call an authorized representative. An authorized representative is someone who can call DFR and say, my client, John Smith, I think he has a redetermination coming up. Can you tell me when it's due? Or he got a letter, but he lost it. Can you tell me what it said? So it allows someone to have the capability to help someone in a bit of a further way than normally if you would call DFR and ask about John Smith, they would say, I can't talk to you for privacy reasons. So it's a form that's filled out. You can also request that over the phone if you do a three-way call. So you and John both call the DFR and you both agree to the authorized representative stipulations. They'll enter that in the system and then you'll be set up as the authorized representative. Authorized representative is expected to be knowledgeable about the individual circumstances, so I wouldn't recommend doing it for someone that you really don't have a relationship with or you're just helping one time unless they really ask you to do that. Anytime you do a three-way call, if you've got someone that's just kind of that one-time scenario, if you call with the person on the phone, they could say, hi, I'm John, here's my number, send me, I'm giving this person permission to talk to you during this phone call. And so you can do a one-time permission also, but you need to have them with you to do that. And then this is a big one, returning to normal operations after the COVID-19 public health emergency. So we've used special rules since March 2020 to make sure that Medicaid members did not lose their health coverage except for very limited reasons. These special protections ended on March 31st of this year. So all Medicaid members should make sure their contact information is up to date with DFR and then watch for and respond to any mail that's sent to them. So really the most important thing is making sure that contact information is up to date because we're going to send mail or we're going to text or we're going to call. And if we don't have the right information for them, they might miss those reach outs and they might lose their coverage. We don't want anyone who's truly eligible to lose their coverage because they didn't jump through some hoop that we set for them. But we really have to be able to contact them. So if you're talking to someone and they're worried, if they've been getting mail from FSSA consistently, they're probably good. They just need to keep watching the mail and respond to anything that's sent to them. If they've moved recently or they're not sure if their contact information is correct, they should definitely contact DFR and just confirm that we've got that phone number, address, and if they have an email address, we'll take that too. So for more information on the process and free resources, so there are videos that you can use or put on your websites or on your social media. We've got posters, postcards, and flyers that you can order in bulk for free from the state. And they're nice 4-color, kind of eye-catching posters that you could put in your offices. You could get postcards and hand them out, or flyers to hand them out. We would love to have your partnership in that. And the website where you would do that is right there below. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Broke down a complicated topic very nicely there. Now we have Heather from Work One in Department of Workforce Development.
Hello. I'm Heather Flanagan, Department of Workforce Development. I'm the Regional Support Manager for Region 6. I did bring some flyers up front that have maps and additional Work One services and web links. Thank you. Because when I put my information in, I didn't have the final approval of the form, but on this workforce, there's a QR code that will take you to the Department of Workforce Development, and you can get access to all of our services. It'll also give you maps, take you straight to all the local Work Ones, because every Work One has different hours and different offices and locations. But throughout Work One, the career centers are the heart of Indiana's workforce development, and they're also known as your American Job Centers. We have 12 regions throughout the state, and that's where that map will come in handy. I am the Regional Support Manager for Region 6, which is 9 counties: Delaware, Jay, Blackford, Randolph, Henry, Rush, Fayette, Wayne, and Union counties. But throughout the state of Indiana, we have 60 affiliate offices where customers can use the computers, they can use the IRAs, workshops, different things like that to help them get back into employment or to even skill up. We have 19 comprehensive offices that offer a full array of services, the same services, but they can also do direct connections with partner agencies. Those offices actually have additional bat phones in them. It's a bomb guard program. So if an individual needs assistance with unemployment, because our offices are not the unemployment office, although they can come into our office to file unemployment, any of the offices as a self-help, but the comprehensive offices are the only ones that have direct phone lines and computers that dial straight into UI adjudication to get any help that they need directly with them, because our staff do not have the ability to guide and give direction on that. But they can use our offices to file. Some of the services that the Work One offices provide, and they're free services, is we provide veteran services, and they actually get priority of service. They get to go first in the line. Oh, hang on, I'm not keeping up with my PowerPoint.
Too many things to think about.
Yeah, I know. And they have access to computer labs, IRAs. We help with faxing information in if people need to make resumes, cover letters, they can print those in our offices. We have labor market information available. Our career advisors can help with resume assistance, interviewing. The Work One workshops that are free to individuals that are looking to, skill up, transferable skills, get back into employment, or incumbent workers that are just starting to get into jobs. Our career advisors have assessments and skill evaluations that are free. One of the new tools that they're using is Indiana Career Explorer, and that's a free tool that anybody can use. There's lots of neat assessments out there, kind of tells them what their likes are, what their interests are. It gives them a full array of different occupations, some videos so they can see what that occupation is like, what the day is in that job. Indiana Career Explorer. And there's videos on there. It also will tell them if it's an in-demand job in the state of Indiana. It'll tell you the wages for entry level and all that. So that's a really neat and new tool that they've really been developing the last couple of years. Our career advisors also provide career counseling and planning. We have training availability, but that is based upon what the regions have specifically for the programs, and it's based on client eligibility. What I will tell you about that is it's very hard to determine that, and if somebody's interested in something like that, they probably just need to reach out to the regions and see if, about making an appointment. They'll assess them to determine the need, and each region has different pots of funding, so based on the client's eligibility, the household income, and all that. On the map that I brought today, on the back side of that, it also has a list of other programs and partner agencies that we work with. We have an employer engagement team that's throughout the state of Indiana, and each region has their own employer engagement team. It has a link so you can see the different services that they provide. Employer training grant is a grant that can go to employers to help their individuals skill up. They have to apply for that. It's up to a $5,000 reimbursement per newly trained employee. There are rules and regulations to that, and the employer would have to have an FEIN number, and they would have to apply, but they can cap out at $50,000 for that company. So those rules tend to change year to year based on the criteria. Bart is going to be talking about the young adult and the JAG program here in a little bit. And then Indiana Adult Education is another partner that we work with. They provide adult education, high school diplomas, high school equivalencies, and they've really come a long way this last couple of years because they can also do certifications. So they have individual employment training plans and workforce. It's called WI. I forget what that stands for, but they can work with employers also to help individuals that may be coming on in an entry level and they want to skill them up to get maybe a certification, and they can co-work with an employer to get some of their individuals skilled up and to earn certificates. It covers workforce development services, and the web link for that, we have currently Workforce Ready grants, and the Workforce Ready grant is a grant that an individual has to be at least 18 years of age, and they would have to have a high school diploma. They can do, it's a short-term training. Each region has different availability and funding for that, so they would need to specifically check to see what the programs are. But one of the other criteria for that is they can't already have a degree, like a college degree or something like that. Indiana Office of Workforce Based Learning and Apprenticeship is another area that really is growing, and we're coordinating and working with a lot of employers to grow that and add more apprenticeships throughout the state of Indiana. And like I mentioned, we have the veteran services and we get veteran priority. So we have DevOps and leavers that work in the office that work with disabled vets, and we have them also working with employers to give them jobs and get them job ready and into the workforce. Let's see here. So like I said, there's several things that the Work One office is doing, that the staff do in there. Starting off with trying to get them back into employment. So whether they're unemployed, employed, and they need to skill up, maybe to get a higher paying job, the Work One offices can help with that. They just have to be eligible to work in the United States. That is the main criteria, just to get the basic services in the Work One offices. Now, if an individual wants to go a step further and do training, then that's going to require some additional eligibility and some assessment and one-on-one individual criteria that the career advisor is going to look at. It's very complicated. So they would just need to schedule to meet with one of the career advisors to go over that. Usually one of the things that they're going to ask for is maybe driver's license. And once they get to this point where they want to see if they're eligible for the training funding, they may have to provide a social security card or some additional criteria, household income, and information to make sure they fit the criteria for their programs. Indiana Career Connect is our case management system that we use, but it's also for individuals and employers. So that is our website that's free to everybody. It's a spot where they can search careers, they can build resumes, they can do assessments. It's free, you can access it anywhere. And then employers will post their job postings on that, and they can search Indiana Career Connect for individuals that fit their criteria, and they can reach out to them for interviews. But then individuals can also apply to those jobs specifically from Indiana Career Connect, and it also pulls jobs in from several other websites as well. So the criteria for if a person wants to go into some career counseling, management, where they're going to get some additional intense services for WIOA, which is the Workforce and Innovation Opportunity Act. That criteria for adult and dislocated worker is age of 18 or older, They must be eligible to work in the United States and have registered for selective service. Those are the main criteria. The dislocated worker, that individuals needs to be unemployed or have lost their job to no fault of their own, or have received a layoff and are unlikely to return to their previous occupation or industry. Again, if they're not sure, they can reach out to one of the Work One offices and ask to speak to a career advisor. Right now, the offices are on a priority of service for adult individuals. So what that priority of service means is the Work Ones have to be at 51% priority service for anybody that they roll into the WEO adult program. The priority of how that breaks down is on this slide, so you don't have to memorize it. And again, the career advisors and the Work Ones will do that with the individual to see if they fit. And this is for an individual that's really seeking to get that additional career services and maybe training supportive services to help them get back or skilled up to get back into the workforce. So veterans are the first priority group, and eligible spouses that are currently are low income, maybe public assistance or basic skills deficient. That is the first level of that priority group. The second group are non-veterans that are on public assistance, low income, and basic skills deficient. One of the basic skills deficient is 8.9 or lower. Grade point out or grade level is 8.9. An individual that didn't go complete high school is also considered in that group. The next group would be your veterans and eligible spouses is your other priority group for WEO adult. And then each region may have their own population of what they consider priority groups. So I don't have a list of the entire state. So again, each region has specifics to those. And then the last priority group is individuals that are not included in some of these other groups. And again, that would have to really be determined by the regions. So that's what I have. And again, I have the flyer out there so you guys can grab that. I did just send it to Liz because it just got approved like right before I came. So I brought some of those. But Liz, I asked Liz if she could add it to the PowerPoint presentation so you guys can have those. But the Work Ones offer a full array of services. Individuals can meet them in the offices. There's offices throughout the state, but there are virtual services as well. So if they have access to, phone system, they can call in, they can do things through Microsoft Teams. And we have a lot of Work Ones that will provide virtual services over the computer system to meet them where they're at. And then specifically, this region, they go out to other sites, what they call affiliate sites. They go to libraries, they will meet them where they're at. They have a mobile team. They have some kiosk computers set out throughout the regions that they can get to at libraries and stuff like that. Yeah.
You guys still offer the WOTC, Work Opportunity Tax Credit? Is that still around?
Yes, WOTC is still around,
Okay.
the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, and that little QR code will take you to the state of Indiana, which will give you more details because they can fill out.
A lot,
Yeah.
There's so many jobs now, though, if people ain't working, they really ain't trying for them. It's kind of an incentive for people to go to work.
Right, and then there's federal bonding too. So
Right.
that QR code will take you to the DWD website, and there's all kinds of resources out there for job seekers. It'll give you resources in Work One locations, all of our different tools that we have that are free to everybody, the Indiana Career Connect, the Indiana Career Explorer. Gives you in-demand jobs out there. It'll give you information on the work-based learning, next level jobs, and then it also has links to all the unemployment videos, how people file, what the requirements are for all that too.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
And Bart's gonna do the youth.
All righty. So, hopefully y'all are doing well this morning. We're gonna start off with a little bit of a quiz on mine. So just guess, raise your hand. We'll see who's the closest. I don't have any prize or anything, maybe next time. But on average, how many miles do you think a Hoosier adult lives from their mother? From their mother. No Googling. Take a stab at it. Anybody?
5 miles.
5, 10,
20.
20,
Thinking 30.
30? All right.
15.
15? We're not going by prices right rule, so you win. It's actually 14. Take a guess on what the national average is. 18. 18. So I say that to say there's a lot of talk about workforce and young people and that they're leaving the state in droves. They're not, okay? So they're actually staying here, which is why some of the youth work that we do in state and some of the things that you're doing with young people are so important, because what the data is showing is whether the jobs and whether the opportunities are in their communities or not, they're actually staying. Another quiz question. What's the percentage of young people that employers say are not ready, graduates, high school and college graduates are not ready for the basics of work?
99%.
I think if you caught them at happy hour, honestly, they probably would say that.
Optimistic and say 55.
It's 64%.
Okay.
So 64% of employers are saying that young people are not basically ready to fog a mirror, as they say. And my last quiz question for you: what percentage of employers say that young people are not capable of communicating at a professional level upon graduation in order to be successful at work?
85%.
It's 67%. So those are still really bad numbers. We're talking about high school and college graduates, so we're going to go into a lot of different stuff. But high school and college graduates, so you're talking about the folks that have already been trained up to potentially do these things. This isn't necessarily to take a stab at our young Hoosiers. It's to say that we have a lot of work to do, and it's to say that what the work that you're doing, particularly with families that have young people, are vital to the future of our state. So I probably should have let off with my name. I'm Bardone. I'm the Associate Director of Youth Initiatives at the Department of Workforce Development. We'll go into what JAG Indiana is here in a second. I don't have a ton of slides. I do want to make, because I'm last, so I do want to make sure we have time for your questions. I speak three languages: English, Italian, and government jargon. So if you don't know if I say something, you're like, what is that acronym? Just let me know. The first thing I'm going to talk about is our Young Adult Services Division. Young Adult Services sort of encompasses youth ages 16 to 24. A lot of young people don't think of themselves as a 24-year-old eligible for youth programming, but the government does. Why that's important is there are different funding streams for people that, as Heather talked about, 18 and up for our Adult Work One programs. You can be 18 to 24 and still qualify for the youth program. So it's a totally different funding pot. There's totally different programs. And if you start at 24 in a youth program and you don't finish till you're 27, you're still considered a youth until you exit. God bless you. So in terms of who qualifies, I'm not going to read word by word, but some of the ones that are sort of probably the most interesting: low income individual recipient of a secondary school diploma or equivalent who's low income and basic skills deficient. So one of the things that I think there's a misnomer that, okay, I'm a student that graduated from high school, I can't be eligible for any funding or work one services. That's a lie. Okay, well, it's not a lie, it's just a misnomer. Anyone who is an individual who's been subject to the juvenile or adult justice system automatically qualifies. Any young person who has a disability automatically qualifies. So if you're working with students and young people in families that they're on IEPs or anything of that nature, the young people that will qualify when they get out of school or in school, depending on what they need. From our young adult services perspective, it can be anything from, hey, I need you to help me find a job. Hey, I need you, so sit down with me and help me build a resume and connect me with employers and help me find a job, all the way up to, hey, I qualify for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding, which Heather talked about a little bit, all the way up to an associate's degree. So our young adult services can pay all the way up to an associate's degree in an in-demand career. If you're coming in and you say, cool, I want to do underwater basket weaving, no, but we can probably find you something else that you would be interested in. That's an in-demand career. So some of the things that are sort of barriers that you guys can help with in terms of young adult services money. Important thing to know: we never spend all of it. Okay. Heather will say the same thing. There's always money available because people don't know about the services. And point them in my direction if you need to. I'm glad to answer any questions about it. But so the biggest barrier to us using our young adult services is simply knowledge. Young people don't know, families don't know that there is all this money available. They don't know that when they drive by a Work One office, it's not the unemployment office, that it can actually help you through college, can help you through a certification program and things of that nature. We also have what are called work experiences for our young people, which is where Department of Workforce Development subsidizes a young person working in an entry-level career at a company for up to 180 days. The employer can say, yeah, that young person really worked out, we're going to hire him full time, or they can say, you know what, it didn't work out, but it was a good experience, or a horrible experience, I guess technically. So there are a lot of opportunities out there for young people to get experience in work or just get schooling or anything of that nature. But the biggest barrier is knowledge, and that the work location I wrote down. The Work One offices are not the unemployment office. It's the employment office, I guess you could say. The second is parental income. So if you have a young person that is living with mom and dad, even though they fight with mom and dad every day, but mom and dad make $250,000, yes, there is a bit of an income barrier there. Doesn't mean we can't help them find a job. They just might not necessarily qualify for an associate's degree necessarily, or a program that leads to that. But we do have what are called 5% exceptions in the region. So if you are working with a family that doesn't qualify under any of these things right here, regions have the opportunity to use what's called a 5% exception with youth funding. So that's just, hey, there are these other outside barriers that this young person has. Let's fit them into the box that they can fit in so we can make sure we serve them because they really need it. The other, yeah, yes, absolutely.
I was just wondering what the disabled eligibility is that like Social Security, or is there like how do you define disabled as an eligibility criteria?
Honestly, it can actually, it can start out as self-attestation, but even like, you know, I had an IEP in school, or I'm receiving some sort of assistance for a disability. But, you know, it can be anything. They can start out to get in the program self-attestation. At some point, they'll need to provide some sort of documentation, which can come from a medical provider. It can come from, I'm receiving these services for being disabled. There's a lot of different ways. That's a really good question. Really good question. That wins question of the day. So the last barrier is sort of school status. A lot of young people think I'm in school or I graduated, therefore I can't get any services or I can't get any help. That is fake news. You can absolutely get this if you graduated. Even if you graduated from college and you have an income barrier, you know, there's an opportunity. You come in and get help finding a job. Now, if you can't find one. All right, moving on. So I'm going to go into our in-school program now, which is it's called Jobs for America's Graduates Program. And I'm going to pass these little social media cards around. This is your permission to get on your phone for a minute. And please follow us. This is our in-school program. We post every day other than weekends because I like to golf. I do all the social media, so if you connect, please go ahead and know that you're connected. If you have any questions, connect with me. So JAG Indiana is the acronym, Jobs for America's Graduates. As you can imagine, it's about jobs. We're in 130 schools across Indiana. It's basically a how to do life class that's within the Department of Education's curriculum. It is in our graduation pathways as well. They're basically for students who are not on a path to success as identified by a committee of folks in their school, usually counselors, principals, teachers, coaches, things like that. It is entirely funded by the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. The teachers that are in the programs are funded by the regions, but the Department of Workforce Development, so they're not DOE teachers necessarily. And it does boast a 95% graduation rate. So these are young people that are identified as not being on a track to success through graduation and beyond, and they're graduating at that 95% graduate rate. 83% of them, a year after they graduate from JAG Indiana, are still either full-time employed, full-time military, or full-time school. So part of the program's requirements is that the JAG teacher has to follow up with them a year after, put it in a case management system, we track it all, what those young people are doing after they graduate. Like I said, there's a map on the website there that shows if there's a school near you that has it. It's a great program. I get to go into the schools and talk to the young people about suicide prevention and things of that nature. But it is a wonderful program that serves around 5,000 students a year. They do yes.
So I have a question. So the teachers in the school,
Yes,
because I know we have one, I coach baseball at Anderson High School. and I
They
know
have
some
one.
of our kids, yeah. So are those teachers, are they employed by the school corporation or are they employed by the state?
man, that's an awesome question. The answer is neither. So what Heather talked about, the Department of Workforce Development sends out funding to each region, the workforce development boards. They have a service provider that sort of contracts that region.
Oh, so like interlocal or something like
Yes,
that?
there you go.
Employs it? Or
Interlocal.
it used to be Circle 7. I did a lot of contracts with.
Interlocal,
Madison County job.
they're interlocal employees right now at Anderson.
Okay.
Sometimes they're job work, sometimes they're something else, River Valley Resources in
But that
Southeast
can
Indiana.
change every few years when the next bid comes up.
It can, but Interlocal's been there for a while. They're kind of one of the star ones. So,
All right.
but yeah, Anderson's had a program for a long
Yeah,
time. They're one of the
it
originals.
really helps because our city's not what I grew up in. It's really kind of sad.
I grew up in Detroit, if it makes you feel
Yeah,
better.
okay. So you can,
So that's a wonderful question. And what's your name, sir?
Jeff,
Jeff is doing my marketing for me because it is a great program.
yeah, it's a great program.
Governor Holcomb sits on our JAG National Board. Governor Pence before that, Governor Daniels brought it here. So we enjoy support at the highest levels of state government. So in order to be in JAG, we have 38 barriers, quote unquote. They go from anything from income barriers to academic barriers to parental barriers. You know, mom and dad are in prison. Mom and dad have passed away, either one. Young women who are pregnant in school or parenting, and things of that nature. So it runs the gamut. We have valedictorians in JAG. We have young people who have 1.2 GPAs in JAG. That's one of the things I love about it. You can go into a JAG class and the star high school quarterback is sitting next to doing a project with a kid that he's never talked to, is doing a project with a kid that otherwise they'd never meet. It's cool. I can't say enough about it, but I definitely want to make sure that I leave time for questions for everybody, for all of our awesome folks here. My last thing I will say, this is totally out of left field. There's a spider on the ground. My daughter loves spiders. She collects them, so you're going to see me pick it up, take home to her. Sorry, but whenever I see a spider and I know it's going to get squished, I generally pick it up for it. If it's still there. There it is. It's on there.
So you're my spider guy. If one comes after me, I'll get you.
She has tarantulas at home. So.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no.
Let's thank our awesome panel as Bart gets some fantastic resources for your clients. This is very scientific. They're just right into the back.
Usually I grab them, but a little nervous presentation.
So we've got about 10 minutes for questions. And so if it's for an individual or for the whole panel, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get you.
Question about the WIC program. You talked about the card. You also talked about packets. So, and that they were geared toward people's individual nutritional needs. How does that work with the card? Can you only buy those things with the card?
Correct. So when a food package is signed, our cards are a little bit different. That's why we have like our own little machines at the grocery stores, because unlike some different benefits like SNAP benefits, which are dollars, we actually load ounces of food onto our cards. So you get like 64 ounces of cereal, 48 ounces of peanut butter. And so as the client redeems that item, the ounces are reduced. So it gets kind of complicated because we have to like keep an eye on like package sizes and different things that we approve so that nobody loses, like you don't have like 4 extra ounces that you can't redeem. But yeah, so it comes off in ounces. We do have a cash value benefit that right now, because of the pandemic, it's elevated. So anywhere between $35 and like $48 a month. That is a cash benefit that does go on the card for our families that they can use to buy fresh, frozen, or canned fruits and vegetables. And so there's like no limitation on those except for not organic. But the other items are like WIC approved cereal, 64 ounces. And so then on our food cards or on the app, you can see which cereals qualify. And then they can grab that cereal, check that out with their card, and just reduce the ounces that are left on the card. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm asking, so if they're short on iron, if they have an iron deficiency, they can only get food on their card that has a lot of iron in it?
So they get the whole range of packet, like the whole food package, but that dietitian may decide that that family should get dry beans instead of peanut butter because they're a higher iron food. Or they may decide that they get a particular percentage of milk instead of this percentage of milk. I am not a dietitian, so.
But very individualized, though.
Yes,
Okay.
so they try, on some items, they try to make sure that, depending on the risk category that they fall into, that we're really focusing on ensuring that those foods are added, that all the basics are there, kind of for everybody, like cheese and, milk, cereal, bread, those types of things as healthy foods for everybody, and then kind of the rest of it can be customized for the family. That's a great question.
What other questions? Yes, go ahead.
I just have a follow-up to that. Are people on WIC able to do the curbside or delivery methods for Kroger? I've seen it on the Kroger app, but I just didn't know if that was an option.
Oh, you asked the question.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
sorry.
we are working on it.
Okay.
Our federal regulations don't allow it, but there's a lot of grant money from the USDA right now, and they are piloting that in numerous states. It is something that we intend to have in place in the next year or two, but we don't have it in place yet, but it is on the way. There's a whole package of money that USDA just put out for grants for WIC programs across the nation that are WIC modernization. So it's to be a year or two behind SNAP, but we're getting there. So it's definitely, we're hoping to get some change in federal regulation that will make some of this a little easier. So.
Yeah, back to you.
Oh, Medicaid question. You had posted the income limits. Are there still resource limits for certain categories?
So the resource limits apply to someone who is eligible on the basis, an adult who's eligible on the basis of disability, receiving Medicare or in the nursing home or on a waiver. For Healthy Indiana Plan, who's your health wise, there's no asset limit. We don't even ask.
I actually also had a WIC question. So when households are identified to have a specific nutrition need, how does the program accommodate individual preference into what they approve and don't approve for people to receive? So, for example, like you need iron and you're approved for beans, but maybe someone in the household doesn't like beans or won't eat them. Do you have any sort of process for that for families?
Sure, yeah, so our food packages are pretty broad. USDA has like a bunch of different options for food. And then each state looks at all of the different food items that are available, and we assess a number of different factors. So we look at cost, so that it keeps our food funds sustainable. We look at availability across the state. So there might be a product that's in southern Indiana that's not in northern Indiana. We look at like accessibility across our tiers of vendors. So Walmart might carry it, but if our little guys can't carry it, then that might not be an item we add because it's not accessible to everyone. So when we look at the big food package and we're considering the foods for our state food package, we try to have as many options as we possibly can that we can verify all of those points. So we have like 20 different types of cereal. We may have all different types of dried beans, but maybe instead we encourage the family to get brown rice. And so that's kind of where that nutrition education portion comes in. So if the family's like, my kids are definitely not going to eat that, then we will try to work with the family to figure out what will they eat and how can we help you and what could you use in your food package to, or what can we put in there that can. So yeah, there are some things on which we have less flexibility, but we try to have a broad enough selection available that they still have some choice.
Yes, question for WIC as well. I know there are many immigrant families who benefit from WIC, and sometimes I've heard and I have heard you say that the foods that they get, they don't know what to do with them because they're not used to that. So how is that addressed? And is there education, or are people from different countries incorporated into creating that menu on the food card?
Yes, so we try to, so we utilize our local agencies, and we have interpreter services that we pay for at the state level for all of our local agencies. And we survey them pretty regularly about what languages that they are serving so that we can get all of our materials interpreted into those languages or translated into those languages, but also that they are talking to the clients about what is it that you actually are willing to eat. For instance, a great example of that is our Afghan guests that came into the state. My team at the state, we went down to Camp Atterbury for about 3 weeks to help them get settled in and make sure that they, were kind of being assessed and getting breastfeeding support. They are settled, many of them up kind of in the Fort Wayne area. And so our coordinator in that area communicated with us that, one, she needed some and Pashto translations, but also that the families were requesting ghee. And so we started the process of assessing, where is that available? Like, how can we get that? Is that affordable? Can we figure out how to do that? So a lot of it is like, we have our local agencies have to kind of communicate with us at this, so we can start that assessment process to see, is this something we can add? Yes, we try. We have a whole food package. We have a variety of different food packages available. And again, we try to customize it as much as we can. But if we know that there's a group that needs some different accommodation, if we find out, if we can know, then we will do what we can to figure out how we can best accommodate.
Well, we are at our time. Let's show our appreciation to the panel again. Thank you all for great information. Their contact info is up here if you have further questions.